I am a woman. I am born in Bangladesh, Bangladeshi. I am Bangali. I am Muslim. I am a daughter. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am a sister. I am a lawyer. I am a politician. I am the Speaker of the National Parliament of Bangladesh. This is the background and the social setting where I belong and I come from. Let me ask a question. When I was narrating the positions of a lawyer, of a politician, and a speaker, how many in this room your mind crossed that it would be a woman? Yes, that is an unconventional role for a woman to hold these positions, even today. Everyone's journey is quite different, quite unique. One has their own struggle, but it is very unique how you face your own challenges. My childhood I spent with my parents and also with my grandmother to a great extent. As my mother was a career woman, my grandmother helped her to a great extent. So, how life repeats itself. When I went into career, my mother, who herself was a career woman, transformed in her role as a grandmother and started taking care of my daughter. In a family of two sisters, I have a younger sister, no brothers. We never felt the discrimination. We were given equal opportunity. We were very lucky and privileged not to be given the discriminatory treatment of the son getting higher education while the daughters are married off. But our parents always believed in educating their girls, so we got that opportunity. And I think the progressive and liberal mind of our parents was a huge plus in overcoming the obstacle that is generally felt in the society for girls. We know that child marriage is a common phenomenon, and it is often thought that it is better for girls to be married off rather than pursuing higher education. My mother, a professor of botany and an educationist, always stressed most importance on education. Also, my parents, both of them, they instilled the value in us that education was the most and the best gift, most precious and the best gift that they could give us. So we always grew up with the notion that we have to do well and perform well in pursuing our education. Then comes the marital life, and well within, into marriage for 5 years, I had a 2-year-old daughter by then, and in my way came the Commonwealth Scholarship. I earned this scholarship to pursue a PhD in law in the University of Essex in the United Kingdom. My husband, Ishtiaq, his unwavering support, and my mother, the biggest cheerleader, inspiring me, ultimately led me to pursue my higher education. Those were the grueling 3.5 years, a lonely and isolated work environment, pursuing my research on right to life, constitutional law, and human rights. Of course, the support from my husband, who was a pharmacist, and he put on hold to his career to be with me in the United Kingdom to help me manage my 2-year-old daughter. And without this support, I would not have been able to make it. So I feel that for any woman to be able to go up the ladder and to pursue a career seriously, it is very important to have a good foundation of education and to have the parental support there, and also the family support after marriage. The husband and the in-laws' perspectives are also equally important. We have seen many dropouts after marriage who have pursued higher education but could not join career or go up the ladder because of the family responsibilities. My in-laws were also supportive. My father-in-law, who was also an educationist and professor, was absolutely thrilled and proud at the thought that I would go and pursue a PhD degree because none of his sons ever went through that path. I practiced in the Supreme Court of Bangladesh for 15 years. The environment in the Supreme Court for lawyers is very good. My male colleagues were very helpful and cooperative. There is an impressive number of women lawyers who are practicing both in the Supreme Court and also in the subordinate judiciary. And there are many women judges in the subordinate judiciary, also in the High Court division, and we also had women judges in the appellate division, the highest apex court of the country. In Supreme Court, when we started practicing, a woman, young lawyer, a junior in profession, it was difficult to gain confidence of the clients. But we had to work very hard to prove ourselves. Long hours in the chamber and the court, and coming back late at night, driving back home alone, finding my children and family asleep was a common phenomena throughout. But still, I hung in there and I pursued my profession as a lawyer. Politics has always been an integral part of my life. I have been groomed and I have breathed and lived in an environment where politics was always discussed and it was a very important part. In the sitting room, a buzz of the news pouring from politicians who visited our home regularly was very common. I used to sit there and listen to the friends of my parents, the political discussions. On the dining table, the international, the national political issues were common topics of discussion. Of course, the center of it was my father, who was involved in politics from his younger student life, and he was the first elected president of Students' League, Chhatra League, in 1958 at a very turbulent time, and he worked very closely with Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And his aspiration to become, and his harboring the dream, unfulfilled dream, I would say, of becoming a politician, is that what inspired me to come into politics. So, at the age of 40 and little over 40, I was quite disheartened that so many years have gone by, but no spark in life, nothing extraordinary has happened. I'm just an ordinary lawyer practicing in the court. Whereas, in contrast, my father, at the age of 38 to 40, had reached the peak of his career. He was serving as the principal secretary to the Prime Minister, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib, in 1972. So I was wondering that if my father reached his peak at the age of 40, what am I doing here? And then suddenly, the turn in life. In 2009, I became a member of parliament in the reserved seat for women, and subsequently given the responsibility of the State Minister for Women and Children Affairs. The position as the State Minister for Women and Children Affairs gave me an excellent opportunity to work for the improvement and for the promotion of grassroots women in this country. I learned a lot from my practical experience at the ground level, which I could have never learned from the pages of any thesis or reading a book. I found out that women in Bangladesh were extremely meritorious. They had the potential. All they needed was the support to flourish. We promulgated the Women Development Policy. We also did the Children Policy. We formulated the law, Domestic Violence Prevention and Protection Act, extended the maternity leave for women up to 6 months with pay. We established Joita, and institution for women entrepreneurs where they could bring in their products. And it was a project to allow access of the products of women entrepreneurs from every corner of the country to the market. It was a market linkage that was important, and it was created. And that Joeita today has become a foundation and has flourished truly. I could see as a women minister that the women around the world always bear a disproportionate share of misery and suffering, even in difficult times like pandemic of COVID-19 or climate change or poverty, whatever it may be. World's largest segment of women are poor. The women farmers are often invisible. They are not the ones who get the support. The women entrepreneurs, they don't have access to land, they don't have access to resources, loans, financial incentives, so they are the ones who suffer most. We need to change the plight of the women, and that is why gender equality is so important. Gender equality is not only a goal in itself, but it is an essential precondition for sustainable, equitable, and inclusive development. So I learned a lot from my role as a state minister. Then came the turning point in April 2013, when I started hearing a lot of noise, particularly in the news outlets, in the media. They broke the news that there was a possibility of my becoming the Speaker of the Parliament. It followed with a huge whisper. How is it possible? A young woman like her, the Speaker of the Parliament? It was also highly criticized, scrutinized. It is not possible. She cannot manage the House, which is dominated by men. How can it be? So that was the temperament, the perception that followed. But it was Honorable Prime Minister who broke the glass ceiling. He said, if there are women speakers in India, in Pakistan, and elsewhere in the world, then Bangladesh should not be left behind. And it is the turn of Bangladesh now. So that is how it happened, and I was elected to this constitutional high office. I was with the burden, with the worry that it was a responsibility of all the women in Bangladesh. What if I made a mistake? What if I could not perform? What if I failed in my duties? Would that ruin the opportunity for all the other women in future? Would there be any other women in this position then? These were the concerns that I had with me when I assumed that position. We know a saying that the head lies uneasy that wears the crown. But however, gradually, with the first session going well, with the first budget being passed smoothly, slowly I got used to the process and I crossed the hurdle and I had a better grip and more confident in my role. Then came a new opportunity for me to be a part of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, to take part in an election and for the position. That happened in 2014, October, and we succeeded in that election. It was a tough call at the International Forum, where Commonwealth Parliamentary Association has all the parliaments that are in the Commonwealth countries. They are members of this association. So it was a proud moment for Bangladesh to have attained this position in 2014. It also gave me an excellent international exposure to learn how all the different 7 regions within the Commonwealth work, what are the parliamentary proceedings elsewhere in the world, and how to learn and accommodate the best practices of different parliamentary systems that we learned through the process in the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association election. But I will share something very interesting with you. When I was in the midst of this election process in Cameroon in Africa, There was suddenly a call from my home, Bangladesh, Dhaka. I stepped out of the conference room to take the phone call from my husband. In the throes of this election situation, my husband asks me, "Where have you put the saffron? We need the saffron for the muruk pulao that we want to cook for the Eid festival." So you see, your role as a mother, as a wife, is never ending. Even no matter where you are, how important it is for you, that agenda, a part of you is always at home. This is an issue that every career woman has to face. And I think the best bit is how well you balance your work life with your family life, because family is very important. Yes, sometimes it is very difficult to make these compromises. But life is all about trade-offs. It is all about setting your own priorities and making your choices. Sometimes these are hard choices. You may not want to do it, but your commitment, for the greater cause, for your career, your service to your country, you have to do many things that may not be something you want to do, may not be something a piece of your heart wants to do. One example, my daughter came for a holiday to Bangladesh. She landed in the airport and her flight arrived. She came in. I had to leave on the same flight for Nairobi in a very important African regional meeting of CPA at the same time. My daughter arrives and I leave. It was not easy for me, but there was no choice. It was my commitment, it was my service requirement, and I had to do it. But despite that, we had our own good times. We spent time together on weekends and tried to make out time from the busy schedule. And those times with the children and husband and family were filled with fun, laughter, and joy. Women in my country made very good achievements in political empowerment. We have 73 women members in the parliament, and 50 are from the reserve seat, while 23 are directly elected. 12,000 women at the union level, members directly elected, and we have 500 vice chairs at the sub-district or upazila level in the local government. We have women secretaries in the government, ambassadors, we have doctors, engineers, in all professions, bankers, lawyers, judges, everywhere we have women. In police, armed forces, navy, and air force. Women police are even serving in the UN peacekeeping mission with a lot of praise. So women are making us proud in every different sector. Everyone who is working in any sector, particularly in the public arena, must also be aware of the challenges and must be open to criticism. And I'm very lucky that both my children, my daughter Lamisa, she supports me in my every endeavor and also helps me analyze the situation and to have a better understanding, while my 20-year-old son, Ibtisham, is a staunch critique of me. He doesn't waste a single occasion to give a different opinion, to tell me where I'm going wrong. He has made me understand and think deeply about many issues and broadened my world view. So, I want that the women in Bangladesh go forward. My motto is to serve my country and the ultimate goal to bring about positive changes in the lives of the people we serve. And I want to quote Robindranath's Chitrangada. I am neither a goddess nor a woman commonplace mundane. I am not the one you hail in the altar worshipping, nor am I the one you keep behind you in negligence. Once you recognize my essence, keeping me beside you, amid your deep hours of crisis, allowing me to be a true partner in your life's journey, a true accomplice in your missions. Only then you will know my true self. Thank you.